What if, right now, while you are watching this video, thousands of people were living deep beneath our feet? Some have gone underground to escape unbearable heat. Others hide there from the threat of nuclear war. And a third group simply has no other choice. Today, we are going to descend into 13 underground worlds where we will see both luxurious salt palaces and secret government bunkers. Make sure you watch till the very end, because the last 3 places on this list are a real hell on earth. There, people are born, live, and die in concrete boxes without windows, and entire communities refuse for decades to leave their caves and step into the sunlight. Are you ready to find out what secrets our planet is hiding? Turn on your flashlights. Let's go. Matera, from disgrace to luxury resort. Let's start with a place you have probably seen in movies, even if you have never been to Italy. Sun-scorched stones, ancient buildings, narrow streets. It feels like you've stepped straight into biblical times. This is where Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ and James Bond chase scenes were filmed. This is Matera, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, where people have been living for about 9,000 years. The most striking feature is that for centuries, most people here did not live in regular houses, but in caves carved directly into the rock. The district is called Sassi, which literally means stones. Today, it looks like a trendy destination for hipsters and millionaires. Boutique cave hotels, atmospheric restaurants, spas. But just 70 to 80 years ago, Matera was known as the shame of Italy. And that was no exaggeration. Until the 1950s, thousands of people lived in these stone bags in conditions worthy of the Middle Ages. There was no electricity, no running water, and certainly no sewage system. Large families crowded into a single dark cave, and they were not alone there. In the same room slept donkeys, chickens, and pigs. The stench of manure mixed with the smell of unwashed bodies and damp, and child mortality was off the charts. People drank rainwater that ran off the roofs, mixing with filth along the way, so malaria and dysentery were commonplace. It was a hell hidden inside picturesque cliffs. In 1952, the Italian authorities finally recognized the situation as a humanitarian catastrophe and forcibly resettled about 15,000 people into modern housing. The caves were abandoned and turned into a ghost town, where only the wind and stray dogs roamed. But history loves irony. Half a century later, this disgrace was carefully restored, supplied with electricity and water, and now tourists pay around 500 euros per night to sleep in the very cave where a peasant once shared his bed with a donkey. Sassi di Matera clearly shows that what seems like rock bottom today can become the pinnacle of elite tourism tomorrow. Matmata, the real Tatooine. Now we cross the Mediterranean Sea to North Africa, to Tunisia. If you look at this place from a satellite or a drone, it might seem as if the surface of the Earth is pockmarked with giant craters, as though it had been carpet-bombed or hit by a meteor shower. But if you go down inside these craters, you'll see satellite dishes and children running around. Welcome to Matmata, the city of troglodytes. If John Williams' music starts playing in your head when you see these landscapes, you're not wrong. This is exactly where George Lucas filmed scenes for Star Wars. Luke Skywalker's house on the planet Tatooine is not a set in Hollywood, but a real hotel called City Driss in Matmata, and people have been living in such homes for many years. The local Berbers came up with a brilliant way to survive in a brutal climate. All around is the merciless Sahara Desert. In summer, the temperature in the shade can reach plus 50 degrees, and in winter, the nights can be icy cold. Building a house on the surface would mean sentencing yourself to torture by heat. So they decided to move underground. The construction technique has remained almost unchanged for centuries. First, they dig a huge pit, about 10 meters deep in the hard ground. This becomes the central courtyard or patio. From this courtyard, they carve rooms into the walls: bedrooms, kitchens, storage rooms. In the end, you get a 2-story underground house without a roof, but with a view of the sky. The main advantage of such a dwelling is natural climate control. While the sun above is melting the rocks, inside the rooms below, the temperature stays at a comfortable plus 20 to 23 degrees all year round, without air conditioners or complex cooling systems. For a long time, hardly anyone knew about these settlements. People lived here quietly, hiding not just from the heat, but also from invaders. From the surface, such homes are almost invisible, making them perfect shelters. The world only found out about Matmata in 1967, when a severe flood in the desert forced locals to ask the authorities for help. Today, Matmata looks like a surreal blend of the Stone Age and the 21st century. You enter a cave hacked out with a pickaxe, and inside there's a plasma TV, Wi-Fi, and a woman in traditional clothing cooking couscous on a gas stove. Many have moved into concrete houses built by the state, but hundreds of people still refuse to leave their holes, insisting that living in concrete is unbearable, far too hot. Underground is their home, their fortress, and their cool refuge. Wieliczka, a salt kingdom under Poland. From scorching Africa, we move to the heart of Europe, Poland. If the previous places looked like hobbit holes or the set of a disaster movie, here everything resembles a real dwarven palace straight out of The Lord of the Rings. Welcome to Wieliczka. On the surface, it's just an ordinary little town, but beneath it lies a 9-level underground complex that descends to a depth of 327 meters. Deeper than the height of the Eiffel Tower. Imagine going down an endless wooden staircase into the darkness, and suddenly a huge, brightly lit hall opens up before you. This is the Chapel of St. Kinga, comparable in size to a real Gothic cathedral. The most astonishing thing here is the material. Everything you see around you is made of rock salt, the floor polished to a marble shine by millions of footsteps, the walls with bas-reliefs, and the statues of saints and kings. Look up. The luxurious chandeliers appear to be crystal, but every single pendant is carved from salt crystals. Wieliczka is not just a mine, but a whole underground world with about 300 kilometers of tunnels, like a subway network in a big city. There are underground salt lakes whose water is denser than in the Dead Sea, restaurants, a post office, and even a health resort for allergy sufferers, because the air in the mine is exceptionally clean. Behind all this beauty lies colossal and dangerous work. This underground city was not designed by professional architects, but by ordinary miners in the little free time they had. For centuries, people descended into this darkness with only torches in their hands, risking their lives. The main enemy here was methane accumulating under the ceilings, so there was a special job known as the penitent. This person put on wet clothes, took a torch on a long pole, and crawled through the tunnels, burning off the gas each time, essentially playing Russian roulette with death so that everyone else could keep working.
Underground Seattle, a city beneath a city. Let's move to the west coast of the USA, to rainy Seattle. Tourists strolling through the downtown streets have no idea that right under their feet, beneath layers of asphalt and concrete, there is another, older Seattle.
It all began with a disaster. In 1889, a massive fire destroyed the entire wooden city center. The authorities decided to rebuild it in stone, but there was a problem. The city stood on marshy ground, and during high tides, the sewage system would literally flow backwards, straight into the toilets on the first floors. Engineers came up with a radical solution. Instead of leveling the ground, they would simply raise the streets. Huge retaining walls were built in the middle of the roads, and the space between them was filled with earth. As a result, the ground level rose to the height of the former second floors. Imagine, yesterday you owned a shop at street level, and today there is a 3-meter concrete wall in front of your door, and the new road runs roughly at roof height. People adapted quickly. The first floors became basements, and the second floors turned into new main entrances. This is how underground Seattle appeared. Under the streets, a whole network of bricked-up sidewalks, storefronts, shops, and bank vaults was formed. If you walk through modern downtown, look down at the pavement. Those strange square insets of purple glass aren't just decoration. They are skylights that once let sunlight into the lower city. For a long time, life thrived in these passages, though of a very specific kind. While respectable citizens walked above, below flourished a city of sin. Opium dens, illegal casinos, and brothels. During Prohibition, alcohol was hidden here, and the mafia used the tunnels for its operations. It was the perfect place to disappear. Nushabad, an invisible megacity. Now let's move to Iran, to the city of Nushabad. Imagine, it's 2006. An ordinary resident is digging a trench for a sewer line in his yard. His shovel hits something solid, the ground collapses, and a black hole opens beneath his feet. Archaeologists climb down and are left speechless. It turns out that beneath the modern city lies a 3-level underground megacity that no one had known about for centuries. Nushabad, also called Uyi, is a masterpiece of ancient engineering, roughly 1,000 years old. Its main purpose was simple: survival. In an era of constant raids by Mongols and other invaders, the locals realized that city walls alone would not save them. They had to vanish from the surface. The underground city descends to a depth of up to 20 meters and contains rooms, corridors, toilets, and water wells. But the most astonishing element is its defense system. The entrances were so well hidden that an enemy could walk within a meter of them and never notice. And if an outsider did manage to get inside, a nasty surprise awaited. The passageways were so narrow that you could only move through them single file, bent over. In such a tunnel, a single defender with a sword could hold off an entire squad. In addition, the city was filled with traps, concealed pits and shafts into which unwelcome guests would fall. One question remained: how to breathe at such a depth? The ancient engineers designed a sophisticated ventilation system. Air shafts were concealed within the walls of houses on the surface, so fresh air circulated through all 3 levels. Even in the worst heat, it stayed cool underground, and people could live there for weeks while war raged above. Derinkuyu, 18 Stories of Fear. Next stop is Turkey, Cappadocia. Many people know it from photos, hot air balloons, bizarre rock fairy chimneys. But the most interesting part is not in the sky. It is hidden deep underground. In 1963, a local man was renovating his house, knocked down a wall in his basement, and discovered a strange room behind it. Behind that was a tunnel, and beyond the tunnel, an entire underground city. This is how Derinkuyu was discovered, one of the deepest and largest known underground cities in the world. The scale is truly mind-blowing. This is not just a few caves, but 18 full levels, going down to about 85 meters, like a 25-story building buried in the ground. Archaeologists estimate that up to 20,000 people could live here at the same time, together with their livestock and food supplies. The reason people came down here was, again, fear. Local Christians were hiding from the raids of Arabs and Romans, turning the soft volcanic tuff into an impregnable fortress. The defensive system was honed to perfection. The main entrances were sealed with giant stone doors, round millstone-like slabs weighing up to half a ton. They could only be rolled aside from the inside. From the outside, the city looked like solid rock. Inside, everything needed for autonomous life was in place. Living quarters, kitchens, wineries, schools, churches, and stables for animals on the upper levels. Smoke from the hearths was drawn out through special shafts so as not to reveal the entrances. Just imagine, 20,000 people living underground for months without seeing the sun. Of course, such a life had a dark side. Derinkuyu had temporary morgues. If someone died during a siege, the body could not be taken outside and was stored in cold rooms until it was safe. Guides also tell of an entire level supposedly reserved for those who lost their sanity because of the darkness, isolation, and cramped conditions. Underground Naples, the belly of the city. We return to Italy, this time to noisy, chaotic Naples. You're eating pizza on Piazza del Plebiscito, strolling through sun-drenched streets, but one step down through an inconspicuous hatch, and you find yourself in a completely different world. Underground Naples is a multi-layered cake of history that goes down to about 40 meters. It all started with the ancient Greeks, who quarried tuff here to build city walls, leaving behind giant caverns. Later, the Romans transformed these spaces into aqueducts and water reservoirs. The most dramatic chapter came during the Second World War. When bombs rained down on Naples, thousands of people fled into these ancient cisterns. They lived there for months. Children played among antique columns. Women gave birth right on the stone floors. On the walls, you can still see drawings from those times. Portraits of Mussolini and Hitler, airplanes dropping bombs. After the war, the underground spaces gradually turned into a massive dump. People simply threw everything they didn't need down into the shafts. Today, as you walk through these echoing halls, you can stumble upon rusty car bodies from the 1940s, old motorcycles, beds, refrigerators, all lying under a thick layer of dust like props from a post-apocalyptic movie. It's no coincidence that this place is called the belly of Naples. It's damp, dark, and very quiet here. And the contrast between the noisy, sunlit city above and this graveyard of objects below is truly shocking. Mary King's Close, a street sealed by the plague. Now we head to misty Scotland, to Edinburgh. The city is beautiful, but it hides a dark secret. Mary King's Close. This is a street that once lay under the open sky, but in the 16th, 17th centuries, as the city expanded,
the authorities decided to build new houses directly on top of the old quarters. As a result, entire streets with homes and shops ended up buried in what are now basements. The sinister reputation of this place is tied to the plague epidemic of 1645. According to legend, when the disease struck the city, the authorities simply boarded up the exits from the infected district, locking hundreds of sick people inside so they would not spread the plague to the wealthier residents above. The trapped were left to die in darkness and filth. Today, many consider Mary King's Close to be one of the most haunted places in the world.
The most famous ghost is that of a little girl named Annie, who, according to guides, was abandoned here by her parents to die in one of the rooms. Tourists from all over the world bring her dolls and toys, and now one of the rooms is literally piled high with teddy bears. The sight is genuinely eerie, a mound of old, dusty toys in a stone chamber where a child is said to have died. Even if you do not believe in ghosts, the oppressive atmosphere, low ceilings, smell of damp stone, and the thought of who once walked these cobblestones make your skin crawl. Dixia, China's apocalypse city. Back to China, Beijing. In 1969, Mao Zedong genuinely feared nuclear war with the USSR and issued a brief order: dig deep tunnels, stockpile grain. That's how Dixia, the underground city, came to be. This wasn't just a bunker, but a massive network of tunnels stretching about 30 kilometers, connecting all the key districts of the capital. The construction was staggering in both scale and primitiveness. No machinery, only manual labor. Hundreds of thousands of workers, soldiers, and even school children grabbed shovels and baskets after shifts and classes to haul out the earth. The city was designed to shelter up to 40% of Beijing's population, millions of people. Below ground, everything needed for long-term survival was planned: schools, hospitals, a 1,000-seat cinema, a skating rink, grain warehouses, and even a mushroom farm for growing food without sunlight. Entrances were camouflaged everywhere: hidden doors in shops, hatches under school desks. Fortunately, nuclear war never came, and the city was never used for its intended purpose. For years, Dixia lay abandoned. Then, parts of the tunnels were turned into cheap hostels and warehouses. Today, many entrances are buried or sealed off, but this empty underground anthill still lies beneath the feet of millions, a monument to collective paranoia and superhuman labor. Las Vegas. People in the storm drains. Now to the USA, Las Vegas, city of lights, casinos, and sudden fortunes. You're walking down the famous strip, admiring the Bellagio fountains. Limos drive by. Tourists lose thousands at the tables. But just a few meters beneath your feet lies another world. Under Las Vegas runs a vast network of storm drains, hundreds of kilometers of concrete tunnels built to channel water during rare desert rains. These pipes have become home to over 1,000 people who call themselves mole people. This is arguably one of the starkest social contrasts on Earth. Above ground, someone orders a bottle of champagne for hundreds of dollars, while directly below, in damp concrete walls, a war veteran or former teacher lights a candle to see their meager dinner. Step into a tunnel, and you're plunged into pitch blackness. You need a flashlight, stepping over puddles and trash. But go deeper, and you find apartments. People drag in furniture discarded by hotels, double beds, carpets, bookshelves, paintings, trying to create comfort where it seems impossible. Underground maintains a steady coolness, a lifesaver against Nevada's scorching desert heat when it's plus 45 degrees Celsius above. Here operate unwritten rules. Police rarely venture down, too filthy and dangerous. It's a state within a state, where those rejected by official society retreat. But this home is deadly. Don't forget, these are storm sewers, and Las Vegas sits in a low-lying area. When a heavy rain hits the mountains, even dozens of kilometers away, water rushes into the tunnels. It's not a slow-rising stream. It's a wall of water racing like a train, sweeping everything away. Everyone living in the tunnels knows the rule. Rain starts, run. They have minutes to grab documents and escape. Many lose everything as floods wash their makeshift homes into the desert. Those who sleep too soundly, or are too drunk, stay behind forever. Their bodies are later found in city outfalls. People live here for years, sharing space with rats, venomous spiders, and scorpions. They say they've gotten used to it and feel calmer in the dark than above, where they're looked at with contempt. Las Vegas tunnels are the dark underbelly of the American dream, where not just rainwater, but broken lives converge. Beijing's Rat Tribe. Back to Beijing, but not to Mao-era bunkers. This is about what's happening right now. In the basements of modern skyscrapers and luxury complexes lives an entire social class dubbed the Rat Tribe. Estimates put their number at around 1 million, the population of a major city that has simply vanished from Earth's surface. These aren't homeless or criminals, mostly young migrants, students, and entry-level workers who came to Beijing chasing dreams. The problem? Surface apartment rents are astronomically high, unaffordable on a waiter's or shop clerk's salary. The solution emerged naturally. Building owners started renting out former bomb shelters and utility basements. Picture a long concrete corridor without a single window, stretching into darkness. On both sides, hundreds of metal doors, each hiding a room, more like a 2-by-2-meter concrete cell. Inside fits just a bed, maybe a tiny table. Ventilation is minimal. The air is stale, reeking of mold, dampness, and food cooked in shared kitchens at the end. People live like this for years, waking in darkness, heading to work, glimpsing sunlight only en route, then descending back into their concrete coffins at night. Many lie to family, claiming they rent normal apartments while sleeping in roach-infested basements. Authorities crack down, declaring such dwellings illegal, welding doors shut, evicting residents. But demand breeds supply. Kicked out of one basement, they find another. The choice is stark: warm shelter underground, freezing on the streets, or return to the village in defeat. The Rat Tribe is the horrific cost of rapid urbanization. 1 million stories of hope locked in windowless cages. Seeing photos of these rooms shows how far humans will compress their needs for a ghostly chance at a better life. Kandovan. High-rises in frozen lava. We leave Beijing's basements for northwest Iran, at the foot of Mount Sahan volcano. If previous spots felt like prisons or bunkers, this looks like fantasy art or an alien movie set. Before you, a valley dotted with giant stone cones like massive anthills or frozen lava drips. Look closer. Windows and doors carved into the rocks, ladders against the walls. This is Kandovan village, where people have lived inside the stone for over 700 years. It began with disaster and fear. In the 13th century, Mongol armies invaded, burning cities and slaughtering residents. Locals fled to the mountains and found these bizarre volcanic formations. The rock was soft enough to carve with pickaxes, but hardened on air contact, becoming concrete tough. They hollowed shelters and stayed. A typical home is a multi-level burrow in a cone. Ground floor sheepfold, whose warmth rises to heat the upper living rooms. Walls up to 2 meters thick provide perfect natural climate control. Cool in summer scorchers, warm in snowy winters. No heating or AC bills, just the power of stone. The contrast is stunning. Outside, it looks like a primitive settlement. Rugged rocks, dusty paths. Inside, modern Iranian apartments with Persian rugs, plasma TVs, electric lights, plumbing. People wedged civilization into volcanic rock. Kandovan gets compared to Turkey's Cappadocia. But key difference: Cappadocia is largely a tourist museum, while Kandovan is a living village of about 1,000 souls. Here, people are born, marry, raise kids, and pass caves to grandchildren. Watching this human anthill, you realize how adaptable we are. If needed, even frozen lava becomes home. Jundin, a village inside a cave. The final stop on our journey is the most unusual place on the list. While in previous examples people dug their own burrows or used basements, here nature created the home and humans simply moved in. Guizhou Province, China. High in the mountains, at about 1,800 meters above sea level, lies a gigantic natural cave. Its height is staggering, and its area is roughly equal to 4 football fields. Right inside this stone mouth lives an entire community. This is Jundin Village, the only settlement in the world that is completely located inside a cave. Around 100 people from the Miao ethnic group live here. They came long ago, fleeing bandits and civil war, and decided no better natural fortress existed. Life in Jundin looks like a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie. Imagine building a house without needing a roof. A massive stone vault already protects from rain, snow, and wind. Homes are lightweight and woven, without heavy ceilings. The cave has everything needed: livestock pens, water sources collected from rocks, and electricity installed just a few years ago. The most incredible part? There used to be an elementary school right here. Children studied under the cave dome, and their basketball court was in the dim light of the vast grotto. The ball hit the ground, and echoes reverberated throughout. But Chinese officials disliked this exotic setup. Authorities declared, "China is not a land of cave dwellers," and forcibly closed the school in 2011, claiming children needed normal conditions. Now school kids spend 2 hours daily trekking down the mountain to a regular school and back up. Residents have been urged to relocate, with concrete houses built for them in the valley below. But most, especially the elderly, refuse to leave.
They insist the cave has perfect climate. No extreme heat, no suffocating humidity, constant air circulation. For them, a concrete box is a prison. The dark rock hole is a true home. Reaching Jundin is tough, over an hour's hike along a narrow mountain path. But those who make it witness a magical scene. Hearth smoke rising to the stone ceiling, playing children, and elders gazing at the world from the mountain's depths, like from a giant window. Jundin proves, home isn't walls or a roof. Home is where you feel safe, even with millions of tons of rock overhead. Humans underground. We've emerged to the surface after journeying through 13 underground worlds, from luxurious salt palaces to to cramped sewer pipes and villages in volcanic craters. All these stories prove one thing: humans are among the most resilient creatures on the planet. We adapt to almost any condition, turning radioactive bunkers, ancient tombs, or rock holes into homes. We'll live without sunlight, in cramped dampness, but we'll find a way to survive. Write in the comments, which place shocked you most? Where could you spend a month for $1 million? In a cozy hobbit hole in Cappadocia, Jundun Cave Village, or maybe risk the Las Vegas tunnels? If this story made you see your own apartment's comfort in a new light, hit like. It helps us dig deeper for the most incredible tales. Subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss new episodes. Appreciate sunlight and fresh air. See you.